Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out to AWE Nite SF. As part of the AWE family, the world's largest #1 spatial computing event series, conference, and expos. We're doing them in US, Europe, Asia, MEA, and supporting 10 independently run AWE Nites around the world. And then tonight, the agenda. We've got 8th Wall, XX, Microsoft, and Vuforia, all going to be speaking tonight. Rigel Benton, interaction designer of 8th Wall, and Douglas Sonders, executive producer at XX. Their presentation is going to be Break Through the Noise, Web AR for Advertising. Chris Barth is a software engineer for Microsoft. He'll be coming up next. And then we got Laia, strategic business development from AR, to talk about the latest from Vuforia. All right, so I'm going to run through a few slides, just kind of set the stage, talk a little bit about just the market as it stands for AR commerce and on AR advertising, a couple of the hot use cases, and then pass it off to the presenters. So Artillery is the company I just mentioned. They're projecting AR ad revenue to grow from $453 million in 2018 to $8.8 billion in 2023. And that's 81% compound annual growth rate. So it's growing rapidly, and it's something you definitely want to be focusing on if you're in this space for development. As you can kind of see with the green lines here, that's all around visual search. And so Google Lens identifies objects using the smartphone, camera, or AR glasses. As an ad medium, visual search engines such as Google will see strong performance and premiums due to the high consumer intent, just like core search will. And then from the consumer AR commerce side, as a corollary to the advertising, Artillery projects $12.7 billion in products to be purchased through AR interfaces by 2023. And that's not considered AR revenue. And this will also drive affiliate revenue for AR ad tech startups in the tune of $404 million by 2023. So from in-store to e-commerce. So AR product visualization is just a great way for more expensive items like furniture and cars, where there's a requirement for boosting the consumer confidence and reducing returns. These are just a handful of the use cases. We've got Amazon, Audi, IKEA, Target. They're all getting involved, and they're actually seeing some fantastic success stories around it. So the conversion rates are still incredibly high when users are using AR for increasing buyer confidence, but it's still, the reach is really small. But the consumer journey from visualization to other conversion milestones is a full medium, and so you can expect a lot more consumer brands to be taking it in. But I think we're still in one big issue we're still having is the 3D asset creation. And so even from rock, paper, reality standpoint, we do a lot of 3D content creation, and probably our when we're scoping out a project, 50% of it is just around asset creation. So it's still a major challenge. It's something that you can make a lot of money on if you're in the 3D content creation business, but someone's going to streamline it. And it's getting more sophisticated. They're coming up with good processes around photogrammetry to improve it, but it's definitely still a challenge. Some of the success stories. So, I mean, this one is just great. Like, House is using it for product visualization, and they said that their visualization boosts conversions by 11x and consumer spends by almost 3x, which is just massive. So it's still early stages, but you can imagine if you're able to scale that, that's going to be huge for revenues. And then Facebook's newsfeed. AR ads' main purpose is basically to limit the friction and the time between the consumer's discovery of an item they're interested in and the purchase of that item. And so AR ads such as this Facebook experience with the sunglass company Michael Kors improves discovery and greatly enhances that Facebook experience. So AR ads such as this one allow users to instantly purchase products without actually leaving the Facebook app. And reports claim that videos such as these perform 77% better than just a static image. So along with Michael Kors, there's Sephora, NYX, Professional Makeup, Bobbi Brown, Pottery Barn, Wayfair. They're all kind of getting into the AR ads, which kind of teases up to YouTube and their in-stream ads. So another nice success story, YouTube, they have a product called AR Beauty Try, which reports 30% more AR activations from in-stream cosmetics promotions. And thanks to machine learning and AR technology, these ads are offering a realistic virtual product samples that are full range of skin tones, and it's just improving the buyer experience. Last thing, not exactly related to AR ads, but we had the big Apple event that was just here, and so I suppose thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down, down, oh, middle, up, middle, okay. I kind of feel the same way. So one thing that I thought was interesting about the iPhone 11 Pro was their the U1 chip, and that was what supplies the spatial awareness to the device, enabling directionally aware AirDrop capabilities. That will be coming out on iOS 13 on September 30th. But what was interesting is the U1 coprocessor integrates with the motion tracking, your IMU, Bluetooth 5.1 for the spatial awareness, and then it pairs with devices and the camera data to support the ARKit features like people occlusion. So with the combined true depth sensing camera that was introduced in iPhone 10X, and then ARKit, the U1 chip is definitely going to be looking like a strong foundation for Apple's potential evolution into the smart glasses. So, we're all still standing by, but they have been making some small little announcements that are still teasing out the future of those smart glasses. That's all I've got. Let's bring up the first presenter.
Well, thank you. So my name is Douglas Sonders. I came to you from modestly sunny LA today, and I guess I'm coming here to speak to you from the marketplace and sales side. I have 20 years of experience in the branded content world, and I have two companies, one of which is just a standard branded content production company. We work for Amazon, Netflix, all the other blah, 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 big names. I've personally produced some routine 500 and 1,000 ads, and our videos have seen about 1 billion views or something like that. And we ended up being one of the first production companies to pioneer in the spherical content capture space. So we, I know it's like a lofty thing to say, but we actually shot National Geographic's first ever VR documentary, and then went to AOL and shot their first ever VR content. That was a wonderful time. What was that, 2016? Very magical. Since flown away. But we thought that was a really fun space, coming from just being a dumb, content creator, then to VR, which is spherical is not really true VR. But we saw a future magic in immersive tech. So about 2.5 years ago, we co-founded XX, and it was, you don't need to see that. So it was a group of us with branded content experience and actually medical. So we have our own surgical center in Orlando. We're developing our own IP in the neurosurgery space, but we didn't want to ask for money from people. So I did what I knew and started selling branded content, immersive tech experiences to self-fund. So far so good. The lights are still on. And I want this to be collaborative. You guys feel free to have questions, or you'll harass me afterwards, buy me a drink or something like that. But have some real tried and true market experience in the space, selling and developing large-scale immersive tech ad experiences. So this was our first baby. I was shooting, my team, we were filming a virtual reality experience in Moab for Jeep, for AOL at Jeep. And I walked up to the director of Jeep brands and I said they needed to do something immersive for their brands, and he thought I was insane. And then I flew to meet him with some early prototypes my friends and I put together of markerless AR. Believe it or not, that was a big deal, 3-4 years ago. And then later on, ultimately sold this project, beat out some heavy hitters. This was our first major project. It was the largest digital project Jeep has ever done in the history of their company. And we launched at CES 2 years ago and won a couple Smarties for the Mobile Marketing Association. We won a silver for the best mobile app in the world or something like that last year. But yeah, it was fun. Real challenge. I can talk about this later on. It was ARKit and ARCore, so iOS and Android. Really interesting. So we had to take engineering models, which included all like every hose, every screw, every thread. We were talking about it cost 6 figures just to repurpose the engineering models. It's funny, the client said, oh, don't worry, you can lower your price in the bid because we will provide you the 3D assets. Then they don't tell you it's going to cost 6 figures to repurpose their model, but that's a different discussion. But anyway, it was fun. The real big takeaway, I would say, from this project is the ROI, return on investment. We had full back-end tracking, analytics, user data, user behavior, location. You could configure your vehicle when the new Wrangler came out and actually connect. You can get accurate pricing and actually connect to local dealer inventory, which for turning around sales, that was actually a pretty big deal. But yeah, so anyway, average user time was 4 minutes, 44 seconds. The people spent about 2 minutes building their Jeep. And you know, we got a lot of really great conversion out of this. The client was super happy. Sold a few Jeeps. That was great. And yeah, I can't really tell you what we're doing in this space unless you sign a lovely NDA, but just we're developing space. And one of my founders is a neurosurgeon and pioneered minimally invasive surgery, so I spent a lot of time seeing people's spines worked on. Personally, I didn't think when I went to photo school 20 years ago that that'd be doing that, but here we are. We're using HMDs to increase efficiency in the space and save money at the hospitals. Time is money. This was really fun. So experiential has been a really easy way to sell if you're pushing immersive tech. Volkswagen came to us and said, hey, we have a new flagship vehicle. We have no idea how to make it look cool because we're Volkswagen, and Volkswagen makes a wonderful product, but how do we compete with a high-end vehicle? They're not really known for competing against Mercedes and BMW, blah, blah, blah. So they have the new Arteon flagship. So they said, here's some money. And the truck showed up in the front of my apartment, and they just dropped off the only prototype in the country. It was a very strange experience. They just dropped this car off, wasn't registered, just downtown LA, and they said I had nobody to drive it. It's very strange, but I had it, and so we did a whole print campaign. We created a whole fashion art series with it, and we did a fashion video, and then we took over the first floor of the Peterson Automotive Museum, and for the launch of the vehicle in America, we did a augmented reality experiential interactive art campaign. So this is actually one I did myself. I was very proud, and it was my first time actually doing something on my own, where I was supposed to project leading other developers. And it was fun, and it was all for the U.S. press. Had a great time. Client was super stoked. So we're on retainer with Amazon, do a lot of fun projects, and it's been baby steps. This is a fun example of a social media-based augmented reality experience. This is a Facebook/Instagram AR thing, comes out in the next week, so top secret, guys. No, it's already been teased, but yeah, so they're using this to promote some of the products they're selling, yeah, so it was fun. Pretty easy to make. These are pretty low cost, and clients will pay pretty well for it. So this was another fun one. Beauty is a really good big space where they have money. We have a really great relationship with Nylon Magazine, which is a sort of millennial-focused fashion publication, and they've gone from print to all digital. And so they sell a lot of beauty products through their publication. And so this is a really fun one. It was based around an event activation they did. Clarisonic, they have you may have heard of them before, but they have this like fun little makeup brush, helps clear makeup off your skin or dead skin and that sort of thing. So they wanted this fun, like a visual artistic representation of like it was like sparkles on the face. We had many iterations, but they wanted sun damage represent on the face, and then you open up your mouth and the Clarisonic wipes it away and then leaves your skin. We added a skin smoothing, like Facetune-esque filter, so after it was all done, you actually glowed like if you used it in real life. So, this was a fun one. This is admittedly a personal project. So 20 years ago, I was a rock and roll photographer. I was traveling the world for Rolling Stone, and then Time and Nat Geo, and so I did a lot of really fun stuff for magazines. And so one of my magazines that I'm still friends with, they let me kind of do an activation off their cover, and it actually helped me sell a bunch of other activations later on. So it was worth it. But yeah, it was Snapchat-based, really fun. Afternoon of work. It was really easy. It was great. And they have a young following, so they shared it on their social platforms, and it was pretty fun. It was saw by a lot of people. There you go. Just a small project for a race team. So we 3D asset creation. It's been very interesting. There you go. So, but for example, of products, they want to be able to show their new race car design in event spaces. So they add little activations within different races so that they get support behind the team. And here's another one. So thanks to our friends at Eighth Wall, which Rigel will get on here and talk. But so we did this really fun campaign. Hearst is a really great client of ours. They're the folks that own Road and Track, Car and Driver, Esquire, and Cosmopolitan, a bunch of other stuff. And they're always trying to find ways to sell unique. Their clients have seen everything. So they're always like, how do we do something different that's not just a influencer doing a road trip with a car or some influencer wearing clothes? How do we do something that's like a little bit different that they can sell? So we just did, it's a fairly simple activation, but there was a print activation in the magazine, and there's a QR code. We also purchased supraar.com. You're welcome to try it yourself. But yeah, WebAR really is awesome. We have the development of WebAR, especially thanks to our friends at Eighth Wall. It's opened a lot of doors because you'll find, I can have a conversation after this if you have questions, but listen, what were we talking about, man? They were saying, like, if your website loads less than 5 seconds, that people won't want to see it. And same thing with downloading an app. Unless they're literally seeing what the ending of the next Star Wars movie is, people don't want to, or like it's, their favorite game, they really don't want to download an app unless it's something really, really special. So to take that away and for people to go like one step and have this load within 5 to 10 seconds, it's pretty awesome. And so you could walk around, explore, change the colors, do a burnout, and take a picture, share on social media the new Toyota Supra, because their focus was creating stuff that was press-worthy and actually creating education around the product. So, and we got some really good press in various publications. So, and we had a great conversation in the car along the way that sometimes brands will do stuff not because they're expecting you to like look at this and go like, I'm definitely going to buy a Supra now. I mean, it is a cool car, but it's also regarding immersive tech, brands are doing stuff just to create a buzz, to get just notoriety around the brand, just being innovators. And there you go. So, yeah, I'll be around if you have any questions about just sort of like the marketplace, what it's been like selling these products, developing the space. We have, like I said, experience developing apps or social media based and then web based, and had good experience and bad experiences, all but WebAR. WebAR has been great. And here's Rigel.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Okay, so my name is Rigel Benton. I am the interaction designer at Eighth Wall. We developed a JavaScript-based SLAM engine that launched last year. I would say actually last week, Wednesday, was the 1-year anniversary of 8th Wall Web. And it's been a really exciting year. We launched, as you know, without image targets, without the ability to accept money. There's only 12 of us at this company still. And so it's been a real journey in this last year, sort of taking, going from a Unity product, which was Unity, or 8th Wall XR for Unity, which some of you may know, to something that's entirely web-based. So I'll show you kind of a quick video I put together over the weekend of like the last year of WebAR with 8th Wall.
You get the scan, you click on the little gray bar at the top, it's going to open up a new window. You allow access to your camera, and look at this. Go over to the bobblehead, and now you have a virtual bobblehead of Aaron Nola on your phone. So that's how you do it. It's augmented reality. That's what we're showing you. Here is your opportunity now. Go ahead, shoot your television screen with the iPhone, open up your camera app, and go ahead and hold it up there. It's an amazing piece of technology that has all kinds of implications down the road, but that's your first opportunity to save $10 on Sunday's game. Why not?
What else could happen down the road with it, Murph?
Well, you know, there's talk of augmented reality is being used on television.
So a year of 8th Wall. It's been crazy. That clip, it's really entertaining. We did this for 3 Phillies games, And we did 2 bobblehead experiences, and then for the last one, and they would give out bobbleheads for people walking in, and then that served as the image target, which is like what those Twitter posts were. But for that clip, they would do this. So after every inning, they would have like commercial breaks, and then they'd come back and they'd put this thing on TV, and they'd have all the announcers go through the whole spiel all over again, educating everyone how to use it, what it is. It's like they started repeating themselves, and like at one point he's just like, this AR, it's the technology of the future. He's just like trying to come up with things to say. Anyway, it's super entertaining. So yeah, eighth wall. So one of the things that we pride ourselves in is being engine agnostic. So one of the things that we've been working really hard on is supporting as many different WebGL frameworks as possible officially. And so we work with all these companies to make sure that our stuff runs really well on their platforms. And in the last release, release 12, we added official Play Canvas support, which is an awesome tool. If you haven't gotten a chance to use that, it's really a spectacular way of developing content. And speaking of release 12, this was pretty recent. We did this. One of the things that people are asking about on the image target side was at the time we supported up to 5 image targets while running SLAM, and up to 50 image targets per app key. We've now upped that count to 1,000 image targets per app, so per website. And we introduced an image target API, which allows you to basically request which image targets you want at any given time on the fly at runtime. So this is helpful for things like you want to have 1,000 pages in a book that all have image targets, and you don't want anyone to have to reload the page. This is now possible. And in addition to that, if you turn SLAM off, you can get 10 tracked simultaneously. Again, all within the browser, all in, not just, not your own browser, like Safari, Android, Chrome, Firefox, what have you. And so that's cool. Oh, and then we also introduced front-facing camera access. So no face tracking from eighth wall, but there are other face tracking JavaScript plugins and stuff out there, JavaScript SDKs that you can then plug into our camera pipeline framework. And we've seen this done before with other things like the Heineken bottles colliding. That's an ML model that's recognizing two different bottles at the same time. So we make it really easy for people to put their own CV tech into our pipeline. And very timely this week is going to be the launch of iOS 13, which is amazing. iOS 13 is great. I've been using it for the last few months now. A few things that it does with eighth wall that's pretty special and really excited about is we now have a motion and orientation API access through Safari, which means that I don't know if you read any of these stories about having to provide access to motion events through your settings. Well, now we can prompt you the same way as camera access, and it's cached per domain. So you go to a website, it says, hey, this website wants to use motion events for AR. You say, okay, and it remembers it. And now it remembers camera permissions as well per domain. So if you're on an iPhone, you reload the page, don't have to keep asking you over and over again for that. So that's pretty cool. And another sort of, awesome surprise was that, iOS web views, a good portion of them now support camera access, which means that eighth wall can run inside Twitter. Eighth wall can run inside Slack, Twitch, Discord, several hundred other apps. This is different than the WK web view, which is used inside of like Instagram and Facebook, but it is still pretty cool. And that we now have camera support inside apps. So look out, apps. All right, so one of the things that we're also super proud of is our Slack and our support. While we are a very small team, we've built a pretty sizable AR community around this type of development. And so this morning we hit 1,500 developers on our Slack, and then I think now it's at 1,508. So we're still growing. And then of those, over 23,000 messages are sent. We'll probably see 24 or more a day, just on our public channels. And our customers are using our Slack as like a way of interfacing with other, freelancers. We have a job board on there. Many people have gotten hired and found work through, put out projects and found work through this. So it's become sort of like a a really awesome place for people to talk about web AR, and it's sort of been a really awesome thing since we started it last year, with like hardly anyone on it, so that's pretty cool. All right, so one of the things that like is super important to web AR that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to talk about often is how to get people into the web AR experience, right? Yes, it's easier than downloading an app. Yes, you can open it from a text message. Yes, there's all this potential there, but like when it really push comes to shove, like it matters to actually get them in there. And what are brands doing? What are marketers doing? And what are our agency partners doing? And it's taken a while before we all sort of began to understand what the design patterns around this is, how you design a store, what are the UX flows for getting someone in the experience. You saw the robot up on, at the beginning. That was the first experience ever made with Eighth Wall. As the interaction designer at Eighth Wall, I made that, and part of the reason why I made it so unnecessarily complex and had like physics interactions and like this weird locomotion system that's like BB-8, as it rolls around the ground and he talks to you and he looks at you, and I did all this because I wanted to prove that like web AR is not about viewing a couch, right, in your room. It's like it can be that, but web AR, more importantly, is a way for people to look at content, engage with it, interact with it, learn from it, and become better people from it without needing to go through all of the hassle of getting through an app store and marketing people to download an app, right? So if that's the goal, then we've come a long way in a year. But getting people to that first step is something that's really important. And that's something that has taken a while to help for us to understand as a tech company, learning from our customers, but also for their customers to understand, going through trial and error and trying different things and experimenting. So one of the things that we've seen a lot more of recently, like in the last few months, is in-store activations. So this is a Finish Line in LA. There's 3 other cities where this is going to be happening. I think New York is going on right now as well. And it's like they took the whole middle of the store and they just made it this giant web AR activation where, so on the video you can walk around and like look at all these cool techie animations. You can learn more about the product. There are QR codes everywhere on these screens in the back that are showing like looping previews of like what it is you'll see whenever you actually open it up on your phone. The sales staff are trained to help people understand what's going on and why it's cool, walking around, doing demos, that sort of thing. We'll probably see a lot more of this in the coming months and possibly years where you see something, and this has been super helpful too with like other people see people using AR, right? And they go up and they ask, what app do I download? How do I get this? And they're like, oh no, it's this over here. So we see some people integrating the QR code into the app, into the web app itself, so that you don't even have to go back to the wall to get it, because like the person standing there can just show it to you, right? And then Lego has been doing, I probably saw a ton of Lego stuff up there. They have been doing so much to like try to figure this thing out, and a bunch of agencies have been part of this. But this one was developed by Trigger, and it is for all the Lego stores, so all the Lego brand stores. These photos I took over the weekend at Santana Row at the Lego store there, and it isn't just like, oh, Lego Ghost pops out and it's like sort of over, right? It's like this one you can see down on the right-hand side there. It's an entire thing. It's like you go in there, they like show you where to start, and then you walk around and like you have to catch each of the different colored ghosts as you move throughout the store, right? And then after you get all the ghosts, then you can go to like the back counter. They'll give you like a little like special edition minifig, and then they'll like give you a private demo of like the app, and like everything going on with that. And then and it's just awesome. Our CEO, he's in LA right now. And he sent me a photo this morning from downtown Disney. His daughters were running around doing this, and he had no idea that this is like, going to be at the downtown Disney Lego store. And so for this one, Lego Hidden Side is like this huge AR push, right? So, all the Lego stores were handled by Trigger, and for that really specific activation. And then there's over 60,000 stores, big box stores, that are given like this other one that was developed by Hoopla in London. And this has also been pretty crazy because even though it's not as structured as the Lego store one, you have there's 9 different ghosts that you can catch in this one. And, and then the whole time it's like you're tracking your progress and like you're unlocking new characters and it's like kind of this whole thing. The one on the left, the image on the left is from Walmart in Mountain View. It's like just the nearest Walmart has this thing in the toy aisle. And then the middle and the right one, those are both in London. Someone posted on Twitter the other day, a Berlin one. It's like Skanmisch, for AR. I can't speak German, that was horrible. And then, so there's sort of these like 2 different ways of thinking about this, right? It's like there's the in-store activation side, which is really easy. You just have the QR code there, people just jump in, right? And then there's the other part that this is really, really good at, which is just how easy it is to open a link, right? So we've seen a lot of people using this for programmatic ad serve as well as social media, right? So like on the programmatic side, this is an example from Toyota Corolla, and they, it was in Spanish, so they were targeting Southern California markets, Spanish speakers, and this was really successful, getting people into dealerships, getting them test driving, right? And so they were just, serving this just like any other, through display ads, search, all these different channels online, getting people into the web AR experience because that's where they were interacting with the brand, right? And so same thing done with Swiss Air. You can see here, and this is a pretty cool one. It was also in the video. So this was an example of like a social media push. So Sony Pictures, for both the theatrical release of Into the Spider-Verse as well as the home release, digital release, they did coordinated social media posts across all of their channels, and we got to see a lot of adoption, a lot of people sharing Spider-Man photos and stuff like through this, and I thought that was pretty interesting, using Twitter a lot and Instagram to sort of push these ideas out. And then, one more thing. So, one cool thing I want to show you guys, never before seen, new announcement. Let's see if I can. Okay, so Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture Studio, just over on the other side of this wall, has this incredibly magic technology that allows people to walk into a space and then to walk out as a hologram, right? But one of the biggest issues up until now has been, where do you see these holograms? These holograms, they're so cool, but like, where do you get them? So we've been working with Microsoft and to integrate their SDK into 8th Wall. This is the first time I've ever shown this. And I want you to notice just how fast this is. A lot of people think about holographic capture as this laborious sort of task which requires a ton of data throughput, 5G, this and that. This is just so fast. Watch this. There it is, right? So it only needs the first frame, and then it can start streaming all of the other video data. This is a video texture that's streaming in and playing back at high frame rates through Safari.
Yeah, he's definitely like, from a brand standpoint, I would get hit up all the times from our clients like, oh, we want to scan in George Clooney. We literally had an RFP for a thing where they want to scan in a celebrity and back end of like a Tech Innovators issue of a magazine, and they were told you had a sponsor pay for it. No way to put it out. It was before this existed because it was like compression was too high, it was like 100 megs or gigs per file, and then they'd have to download an app specifically. It just wasn't possible. This is totally changing the game in the space.
There you have it. Cool.
Let's just take a couple quick questions, and then also, I believe you guys will be running some demos with the during the networking session. So, questions.
So you mentioned you're pretty excited about getting the motion data through Safari. Is that because there's plans to include inertial data inside of in your SLAM algorithm, or?
For us?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, so our SLAM algorithm does use the motion sensors. That's part of the reason why it was sort of disruptive when Apple decided to turn all of that off by default in 12.2. And there were a lot of like calls for the end of WebXR. I mean, of course, that turned off all web VR websites as well, not just us. Even their own website was affected by it. So, yes, our SLAM engine does utilize that information.
What do you think the biggest challenge of WebXR, WebAR is?
The biggest challenge, consumer education, I think right now, but that goes beyond just WebXR, right? I mean, you heard the guy, right? It's kind of funny listening to him on TV describe all these things, but it's really important that everyone living in, thinking about things here, understands that like outside these walls, outside the cities, there are a lot of consumers that just don't know about it and why it's good. And I think we're all doing our best here to like break down those barriers and to get people excited about this technology, just as we're all so excited that we're here talking about it. But yeah, I think education is still the hardest thing.
Yeah, to add to that, past year, thank you. I've definitely walked in some big agencies, and I've told them, by the way, this is possible. And they're like, yeah. So an app, right? And they don't, like, this is, to outside of Silicon Valley, this is like a kind of a wacky concept. So I've been trying to sell like that Supra thing to that client for forever. And so they finally like took a chance. And I don't think they believed in us, but I don't think they believed like it was gonna be clunky, or maybe like it was just there and there was no interactions. The fact that they could like interact, that we could like track analytics, change colors, that was like mind blowing to them. They just didn't think it was possible, honestly. And so yeah, like you said, education is a big thing.
All right, I think, yeah. We'll take it afterwards. All right, and then let's welcome Chris from Microsoft to the stage.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about a project that Microsoft works on today called Spectator View. Just out of curiosity, has anyone in the crowd heard of Spectator View? One, two, okay, yeah, so a few people. To those of you that don't know, hopefully you know by the end of this presentation. But my name, it's Chris Barth. I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. I'm visiting from the Redmond campus today. We're primarily on open source projects. Some of them include the Mixed Reality Toolkit. This Mixed Reality Spectator View repo is a new one up on GitHub. But if you're floating around the Microsoft repos and you see Chris from work making commits, that's me. So now you've got a face for a name. Feel free to reach out with any questions in the future. So compared to kind of the previous presentation, this is more of a developer tool. And I'm going to ask, like, who has found themselves in this scenario where they have a mixed reality experience and they get to a point where they're ready to show it to the world? You know, you've built this magical innovation. You're trying to build excitement. You're trying to build branding. You're just trying to get it out there. A lot of times it turns into some sort of campaign. You know, since this is an advertising meetup, I'm not going to say that I'm the best advertiser here. But I am going to say, you know, campaigns kind of have traditional, you know, processes. So you might start out with some digital marketing. You might build some video content or photo content or audio content that you're going to share on social media space. You know, another thing that you may find yourself doing is a live demo. Like, say you build out this wonderful augmented reality experience. You find yourself at a meetup like you're at today. You want to show live code to a large group of people. You might have to put on a live demo. It's stressful and, you know, it's got its own difficulties that we'll talk about in more detail. But it's one of the main ways of advertising your product. And then another thing that comes up a lot of the times, at least with us at Microsoft, is customer visits. So, you know, with HoloLens 2, we've had these experiences. We want to showcase it. We build a lot of customer interest or potential user interest. So how do we go out and how do we demonstrate it to people? How do we build these informational experiences that you can walk folks through and they can walk away understanding the magic of some of these augmented reality products? And you know, like I kind of alluded to, there's a lot of difficulties in this. We've had a lot of learnings with HoloLens 1, and we're kind of re-seeing those things surface with HoloLens 2. One of the biggest problems right now is video production. So say you build an augmented reality experience. How do you take that? How do you capture that? And how do you share that or show that to people? You know, like with HoloLens or head-mounted displays in particular, using a photo-video camera or this, you know, front-facing camera can be extremely difficult. It's not a stable camera. It's got a lot of wobble. It can introduce nausea. It's not necessarily something that captures the magic. It can detract from the experience you're trying to showcase. And there's also the question too, if you build this marketing experience or if you turn to like a CGI production company and they build you video content, it can be really high quality, but the authenticity can be kind of called into question. If it's not a real video of the product, it's not a real video of the product. Some people can kind of sense that. And so aside from just building this visual content that you want to share to showcase your experience, this is an additional development cost with preparing something to, demo. Working on the standard application is kind of step one, but then taking that and adding in kind of the informational or instructional content to lead through experiences, that's expensive. Or taking like a development stack and preparing it for a live demo setting, that can also be extremely expensive. And people don't necessarily know that up front, or they find themselves kind of in a pinch where they've just got a couple days to piece something together. So we've seen this, there's an additional development cost you should be conscious of. And then the third thing that has been a really big problem, I think, with all the excitement in HoloLens 2 is device availability. So even if you build this great experience, if it's a head-mounted display, how do you show that to multiple customers at the same time? Passing around a device, it takes a lot of time. You go to a customer visit, you've got a limited window to kind of show the magic of your experience. You're passing things around, and you're not necessarily building mind share because people can't see what's going on. When I put on this headset, you'll kind of see that there's a real, who knows what he's seeing in their kind of experience when you're just an onlooker observing. And so that kind of brings us to spectator view. Spectator view has existed for a while. You can kind of see some of these photos floating around where it's a couple things. It's a filming experience for your augmented reality or mixed reality experience. It comes in the form of a mobile device that can film like a HoloLens experience, as well as a higher-end video camera for filming like keynote presentations. But so why does it exist? Spectator view started based on a need for Microsoft to demo HoloLens and HoloLens 2 experiences. It's existed in a lot of different forms. We had an internal version, but at this point in time, it's matured into an open source project, which is why I'm here to kind of advertise and talk about it today. If you're curious to see the state of things, we've got a GitHub repo available to the public at Mixed Reality Spectator View. We just actually announced the first release kind of mid-August, so if you're looking to start playing around with some of these things, it's available now. And it's something that's been used in the past for HoloLens filming. It's something that's going to be continued to use in the future for HoloLens filming. And so you're curious what's in there. So right now it exists as a bunch of Unity prefabs, a bunch of Unity assets. It's not really its own standalone product. It's something you would drop into your existing mixed reality experience. It's kind of a drag and drop GUI editor change in Unity to get this up and running. If you're familiar with Unity, maybe that makes sense. But it's supposed to be limited effort to take your existing experience, synchronize it over a network for a different filming endpoint. And so in addition to that, what does it touch on? What can you do with it? And so right now, it exists kind of in the two forms I described, where we've got a mobile filming experience that's based on ARKit and AR core tracking with mobile devices that have content sent to it from the user HoloLens device. We also have a high-end video camera experience where you can take, Blackmagic Design or Elgato Capture cards and an HDMI or SDI stream and record that and composite that on a PC. And so the final thing I want to say is, this is something that's in the open source community. Even if you're not really trying to film a HoloLens 2 experience, but you have some sort of augmented reality experience, this is an MIT licensed project. So you can take it, you can adapt it, you can kind of build it to fit your specific needs. I would say there's a lot of headache in starting out on some of this stuff and taking even just some of the capture card functionality or the video frame buffer functionality or some of the spatial synchronization functionality is a much better starting point than trying to roll this from scratch. And so I'm not going to spend a lot more time talking about this. If you have more questions about the state of the project, find me afterwards. I can speak more to the state of things or where we're anticipating this to go in the future. But right now, I'm going to attempt a demo that may be hit or miss. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully people are patient with me. But I've had the privilege of having source code for one of the applications you may have used with HoloLens 2 called the Mixed Reality Playground. It comes from our design studios, and it exists primarily as a way to showcase some of the new HoloLens 2 interactions. So people are taking these on kind of client visits, or if you've ever done a HoloLens 2 demo, maybe this is the content you've been seeing. But I'm going to take this time to gradually boot up everything and switch over devices that are projecting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open this HoloLens experience. I apologize if I have to do some configuration on the fly. This is actual live code And I only started integrating this, I would say, this last week before coming out here from the Seattle office. And really just took the existing application from the design team, made some minimal changes to make the Unity app more friendly with kind of Android deployment. But really, it's not a huge associated development task to come and take this and prepare this for filming. So we've got this like spectator application that's being displayed to the screen. It's launching its own kind of Unity version of this. It's application aware, so this was compiled specifically for this app, but you can see that like right now you can specify it specific to a HoloLens, and if you go through and launch for that experience, you should be able to now see some of the hologram content that I can see from the headset. Is Linda in the audience? Linda, we'll see if we can hand this to you without messing up anything. Ooh, okay, we've had a lot of technical difficulties with just this cord. So yeah. You can see that like these holograms that I see on my headset, you can now actually view from this secondary device. And you know, it's pretty powerful because when someone gets kind of confused or lost in these experiences, you can actually take, we're having a lot of technical difficulties with the dongle. She can see it. Maybe you can share it with the audience as well.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
Hey.
So you can see that like these various interactions, like there's a lot of power of whether or not you're visiting a customer and you can't necessarily see what they're doing in the headset, but just going through the process of actually having the secondary viewpoint into your hologram experience is really powerful. And you can put like this standalone device on say a Steadicam or something and not necessarily have a lot of the shake or associated issues with the headset filming. And so we've had a lot of difficulties. I'm not 100% sure we'll get the same quality of spatial alignment once you lose tracking and kind of come back into this shared space. But for the most part, I hope people at least believe that this is running code and can theoretically start to demo some of the app space stuff. Okay. Yeah, so there's a couple different aspects. Like spectator views exist in different forms. So if you're curious about the video camera filming, one of the biggest problems we've had with like the high-end video camera filming has been the calibration process. So we've spent a lot of time over the last few months to take the HoloLens 2 devices, leverage some of the new functionality with QR codes, and actually build a better extrinsic calibration. We're getting a lot better quality in terms of the actual extrinsic transform from the camera sensor to the HoloLens that's mounted. And I have a lot more confidence in kind of saying, okay, previously, you know, it's like a 1 in 10 attempt at calibration, which is a really expensive, time-consuming process, maybe resulted in something you were relatively happy with, where, yeah, you laugh because you've felt the pain. Whereas nowadays, I would say, you know, there's an associated cost with doing it, but I have much more confidence in the data you get out of it because we're using tracking camera information compared to purely relying on, say, the photo-video camera. The other thing that I'll call out too is since we had this really forked code base for both mobile filming and for DSLR camera filming, and now that we're building this consolidated code base, we're moving into a space where we're also building, you know, a shared experience platform. And so like this is one of the first applications or products that showcases some of the spatial alignment stories we're building for HoloLens 2 around, you know, Azure spatial anchors, or this, for example, used QR codes to kind of set up understood physical space. And so we're taking all of kind of these learnings as well as some of the state synchronization stuff. Because previously spectator view had existed with Unity and was based on UNet, which has been deprecated and kind of a big pain point for a lot of people looking to network an application. This isn't necessarily a bi-directional multi-user synchronization stack. It's unidirectional, so you could drop it into a scene, scrapes the scene and kind of builds up all the content you would want to synchronize on the filming stack, and is intended to be a much quicker setup time compared to some of the UNet stuff that you may have had to go through before. But yeah, so just to kind of recap that, I would say state synchronization maybe happens for free. The spatial alignment stuff is like kind of the developer story we're building, and it's only going to get better over time with more functionality, more features. And hopefully calibration proves easier, or if not easier, at least better quality so you have more faith in what you're filming. Yeah. And I'm going to put up just one final slide, but can take questions so you can see more information on how to contact us or how to, you know, get access to the project. But yeah, so I want to call out, just for more information, like again, the project is the github.com/Microsoft Mixed Reality Spectator View. And I don't know if anyone actually is really active in the HoloLens development community, but there is a Slack channel that it provides a lot of access directly to folks working directly with HoloLens 2s on a day-to-day basis, and also has a lot of community activity if you're looking to just, get different perspectives on how to go about building an augmented reality project. But so aka.ms/holodevelopers will give you access to the Slack channel. I don't really know the count of people right now, but I know there's a lot of activity on there, a lot of people that can help. And then also Mixed Reality Spectator View is the project we shut off today. But yeah, that's all I've got right now. If anyone has questions. Yeah.
Let's do 2 questions, 2 quick questions.
For spectator view, what's like a great use case example for like collaboration in the enterprise workplace?
So collaboration in the enterprise work. The scenarios that we've seen a lot of compelling reasons to use are much more instructional and much more device-limited interactions. Like say you have a HoloLens device and you're going through a scenario as, say, an instructor, and you want to have multiple people in an audience kind of view what's going on. Maybe that's easier to facilitate with mobile devices, Android, iOS devices, kind of in this group if you don't have access to a lot of HoloLenses. I can also say that if you're looking to build some of these shared experiences or multi-user input experiences in kind of a shared space with multiple headsets, this isn't necessarily the end solution that you would probably pick up to do that with, but the components that are being built out there, that are getting rolled out into their own mixed reality sharing projects, will kind of be the groundwork of our open source support for, content synchronization with state machines or, multi-user interactions in a shared space. So there's components you could take and use in your application pretty easily if you want to build a multi-user interactive application. But this actual usage scenario is just like a final solution would probably be more of instructional, here's additional viewers, or here's how you include more people into this HoloLens experience where you've got limited devices.
Hey, so just a quick question. So you mentioned that the synchronization of world origin is via a QR code that's displayed on the phone, and then the HoloLens picks that up. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so I went through that kind of quickly, and it may have been hard to tell kind of from the audience, but what happened, the phone showed a QR code on its screen after connecting to kind of a session with the headset. And the phone has its own tracking information based on AR core, so it's got kind of a rough understanding of where that QR code is in its own local application space. Then with the HoloLens, you can detect this QR code, make a declaration of, hey, we found this QR code at this location in my application coordinate space, and build the transform between application origins so that your content is understood across both devices.
And if tracking is lost at any point, how do you recover?
So we're in the process of kind of building out a stronger understanding for that. The QR code isn't necessarily something that would work as well as Agile spatial anchors, because Azure, like this QR code is kind of a one and done setup of a single coordinate, whereas Azure spatial anchors, you could set up as many shared coordinates as you want in the physical world that can be persisted. And so I would say we're building in some reset functionality. We're still kind of picking through the quality of AR tracking on a mobile device versus a headset and kind of how that falls or how they deviate in terms of physical space. So we're still kind of at the infancy of saying, okay, this is the best way to do that with the QR code, for example. But with the ASA, I would have a lot more faith in kind of the experience.
All right, give it up for Chris. Last presenter of the night. Please welcome John to the stage from Vuforia.
Awesome. Can you see now? Great. Like I said, last thing between you guys and more beer, pizza, so try to keep it short and sweet. Who am I? Biz Dev lead at PTC Vuforia. A bit of background for those who don't know. Vuforia is a leading AR SDK, developed at Qualcomm, and was acquired a few years ago by PTC, which is a global 6,000-person software company based in Boston. My role, it's a pretty fun one. I get to work with clients across all industries and verticals to help educate and then implement AR initiatives across their organizations. And having a bunch of market share means we get to see a bunch of cool stuff. So tonight what I want to do is give some use case trends that we're seeing in this space and some examples of some of the good stuff we're seeing done today in AR, but I might cut a few of the demos short. Here, just a few examples of some AR customers that are already using AR today. This is, by no means an exhaustive list. Some recent customers that are implementing this stuff, and pretty exciting ways. Not all specific to ads and commerce, but thought it may be interesting. I know there's probably a mixed audience in terms of depth of AR knowledge, understanding, so I wanted to kind of zoom out before I got into some examples. Just zoom out one step for anyone who's newer to the space and talk about the different ways you can place or anchor AR content. When we think about putting AR content into the world, we think about putting it into two different types of places. We can place content on objects, posters, books, board games, or we can place content relative to an environment, right? You can ignore the bottom half of this slide, but I just want to drill down into some of the ways you can place content on objects specifically, right? You can do so via simple 2D images, multiple objects, cylindrical targets, which can pose some unique computer vision challenges. You can do so via QR code type markers. Our name for them is view marks, but they're essentially AR QR codes, which removes the burden of scale. If you have, a server farm or something of that nature where you have to replicate a large volume of individual targets, and conversely would have to spend more time making unique recognizable targets than the thing is worth. And recognizing objects themselves, right? Just based off a 3D model, CAD model, without any additional predefinition. And that last one's cool because you can actually give your device an understanding of the real space that that thing occupies, right? And do things like simulate airflow around a turbine. While AR's making an impact across many verticals within commerce and ads, sales, marketing, we've seen, and I've seen AR reshaping sales and marketing, particularly in the following markets: industrial, automotive, medical devices, high-tech, semiconductors, federal, aerospace, defense. Obviously, by no means an exhaustive list, but that's some. How AR is transforming ads and commerce. I wanted to zoom out a step and again, kind of show what we're seeing as key value drivers. While AR offers benefits across the value chain, there's specific applications of augmented reality that we think are particularly well suited for improving marketing, commerce, sales activities. And that can depend on whether your organization is more modeled toward B2C or B2B. In a business setting, AR can help to reduce engagement costs, enable rapid and deep customer personalization, accelerate the sales process. Primary benefit for B2B is that AR models are significantly easier to fabricate, transport, and customize than assets or physical models of the same. In these settings, marketers, salespeople, they're typically involved in the customization and the delivery of AR experiences to their prospective customers. For more consumer-focused selling, AR typically, the key value drivers are within the buying process. Brand and product differentiation, greater customer engagement throughout all phases of the buying and sales process. Key value drivers for customers and consumers can include the personalization of product experiences. You can see your products in an in-home context, like you may have seen with the IKEA example I think you had up earlier, Pat. Virtual accessories, tools that can enhance product experiences, and also brand loyalty, right? And in those types of settings, AR can be guided, can be tailored to really be self-guided by the end customer, which provides a much broader range of features, customization options that are often unavailable with traditional mediums, right? Brochures, etc. So essentially, right, the spark notes here is AR is eliminating a lot of sales, marketing constraints. There's a number of use cases in the space. I imagine you're not familiar with the audience here. I'm up here from San Diego for some meetings, but I imagine many of you are at various enterprises asking what AR can do for you, right? So I wanted to take a little bit of time and kind of double click on a few high adoption use cases we're seeing deliver real ROI in the space today. The first of those being AR for product visualization and demonstration. Within that, there's a few subdivisions of that being implemented on the marketing side and on the sales side. Within the marketing side specifically, we're seeing a lot of demo fabrication delivery. With an AR platform, what companies are able to do is they can fabricate an unlimited number of digital twins using existing product data. And so customers can experience those digital twins via a wearable headset like a HoloLens, mobile devices, and the results are a lot more immersive without the spatial or the cost restraints of a physical product demonstration. And using augmented reality, a company can scale up marketing efforts and accelerate the resulting sales pipeline. For the sales side of product visualization and demonstration, we've seen sales teams doing a lot to create life-sized, immersive 3D AR experiences that can be fully customizable. And that iterative customization can happen in a fraction of the time and fraction of the cost, or little to no cost, depending on the scale. For those B2C engagements, we're also seeing that customers can much more confidently preview customizable products without needing to have them fabricated before the purchase. Above, I linked a case study from GSI. They're a protein production solutions is what they specialize in. Their products are large pieces of industrial machinery that are costly, if not impossible, to transport for marketing, advertising, sales. So AR experiences were able to eliminate those physical restrictions, which improve response at events, allows them to replace 2D blueprints with customizable models, trade show, dealer sites. Essentially, the spark notes here is that AR allows reduced cost while heightening the customer experience. Within product and brand, or I guess another high value use case, high adoption use case that we've been seeing is companies using AR for their product and their brand experiences. A lot of companies have been really effectively blending digital and physical buying experiences with AR. In looking at traditional buying experiences, there's online versus super traditional and in-store type of buying experience, right? Online storefronts have each with their own pros and cons. Online have ease of shopping, but they're lacking a lot of the tactile selling points and ability to visualize products in context and customize those products. But brick and mortar stores, they deliver more immersive experiences, but are restricted by geography and the relative inconvenience, as well as the inability to customize those products fully. Where we're seeing AR drive a lot of value is in the combination of really the best of both of those worlds, right? It's able to heighten accessibility, customization, and deliver increased engagement to the end customers. they're able to, right, a customer using AR, and I think many of us who are familiar with AR know this, they're able to select immediately an exact version of the product they want, consistent with their online purchasing, and then interact with some digital approximation of that thing, right? And even after the selling process is complete, AR-driven digital customization and user guides can help owners to better understand and enjoy their purchases. Unlike a traditional, right, a static PDF guide, the companies can continue to enhance the engagement. So I guess spark notes of this here is AR-enabled promotional buying experiences. They're able to provide customers with the convenience and the customization of digital promotions while preserving the immersion of the physical interaction that they're able to get traditionally in a storefront. Above, put a case study on Cannondale. They do a lot of cycling apparel and accessories. And what they did is a few things. They provided dealers with maintenance instructions, allowed, through their augmented reality application, and allowed customers to preview various colors, models, help end users to maintain their products, help the dealers, the mechanics, and the end customers by establishing a new channel of communication and also a new channel of marketing amongst those end users. And there's a ton more examples. I think for time purposes, because I know we're way over and you guys want beer, I'll kind of skim through some of them, but am also available after to tell you more about any of the experiences, dive a bit deeper. One being Vivino, you may have heard of. They allow you to recognize various wine bottles and wine labels in order to understand more about the wines. You can get additional content, you can get additional ads served through that platform, and also get suggestions based off your taste and preferences. Ask Mercedes. Mercedes utilized this earlier this year. The Daimler Group actually, I think around CES timeframe, to digitize the car manuals for some of their models of Mercedes, and it allows the end user to recognize components of the car with just the phone and actually understand the real space that occupies, explode out parts, etc. Lycra utilized this for a supercar model. Actually, I have a video, I think. It's like a 1-minute video. I'll show it to you guys. If I can. Cool. And with that, time for pizza and beer. I'm John Laia. Any questions? Oh, want the replay?
All right, well, that's the show, everyone. Thanks again for coming out. I think there might be a few beers left back there. 4 beers. All right, hurry. Yeah. Register for the event next month. It's going to be good. It's all on Headworn. And, yeah. Tweet, Facebook, put us out there, get people in the seats, and come talk to me after the show if you have any questions. Thanks again for coming out. See ya.